Let's have one where we all work at a fast food place.
Oh no! It looks like I've taken Ragatha and dropped her in the deep
Fast food. Decades ago, a powerful and revolutionary market and display of how far agriculture and food production has come, though now mostly today stands as little more than a horrible side job, a display of corporate corruption, greed, and blatant abuse of the employees and staff working there. In Rimworld, there is a buying and selling mechanic that mainly goes through trade, caravans, and drop pods, though none of it really feels like a proper restaurant, and that's due to the simple fact that the galaxy of Rimworld is oftentimes simply too dangerous to sustain a peaceful and prosperous restaurant, raised from all sorts of cults, gangs, tribes, and federations, all hell-bent on death and destruction. It's no wonder Rimworlds usually never have a proper restaurant. However, after hours of genetic testing, I think I came up with an answer that will not only set up a fast food chain, but tame the world around us as well. And that answer is child soldiers. So in today's challenge, I'm going to use this newfound philosophy to create a race and skyrocket their startup fast food business to the height of joining the largest force of capital in the galaxy, the Mongrel dogs of the Empire. How is this going to go? How do I plan on getting past the several factions I added for murder's sake? Where do I even plan on getting all the meat I will need for the food? Well, I do have an answer to at least one of those questions. And with that, I began the creation of the fast food legendary race known as the Burger Kin. They are vile, garbage-eating, regenerative virgins who are so allergic to showers that they are scared of the mere concept of water. However, they are also completely emotionless to the comical amounts of child murder that is about to occur, able to grow babies off of tumors on their backs, and are also able to learn quickly as to better benefit the fast food empire. Though this time around, since I created a more powerful colonist, we will start with a single colonist with nothing. Steak, the progenitor of all future Burger Kin on this planet, arrived alone on an escape pod. This world was now doomed. Steak got to work almost immediately, destroying random cultural landmarks and quickly building a small Scooter's coffee-sized restaurant in no time. And within a few minutes, we had also mastered the art of packaged survival meals, the ideal food to sell to the hungry masses. However, we aren't ready to sell just yet. See, I am running this world with the hospitality mod, which allows you to take in guests into your colony via guest rooms and beds. From there, you can also set up customer zones, which designates any item in that zone to be on sale. From there, the customer can then purchase the food item at any time if they so desire, paying whatever the current market price is for the food. Setting up a shelf and designating all packaged survival meals to be delivered there, that would serve as our main source of income for this entire run. One problem with hospitality, though, is that after every visit you are graded on how happy or sad your guests are, and that will not only determine when they come again, but will also raise or lower their relations with you. And unfortunately, it also doesn't matter whether or not their anger is self-inflicted. Whether they get attacked by a wild animal, a raider, or if they have a fist fight with each other, they will still blame you for the negative reception.
Who killed Hannibal?
Some cat thought the burgers were for him. Steak gave money to a beggar for a PR stunt. We had our first positive review on Yelp and they left us presents, and Steak began scrounging for components as well, as finishing his geothermal research. And only a few minutes later, Steak had popped out his first baby, fish and chips. We got through microelectronics several days later, and then I started mapping out for the main base. You see, I'm not just right next to a geyser, I'm actually in the middle of 4 different steam geysers, meaning I can deal with all of my power needs for the whole game if I just build around these geysers. So that's what I did, and Steak got to work crafting up some bricks. Unfortunately, it started raining while he was working, causing him to instantly have a mental breakdown. Now, since he is unfeeling and can't suffer a standard mental break, but also automatically has one whenever he gets near water, this causes them to, most of the time, do some completely random job. The only issue is, I lose all control of them during this time, meaning if it occurs while they're getting attacked, there is a fairly high chance that they will literally just sit there and let whatever is attacking them continue to pummel them senseless. Steak was making good progress on the wall. Steak also had really high melee damage, so he is able to competently defend himself from most attacks too. The elves have so far shown to be my best customers, even though I've been putting questionable meats in the Happy Meals. And I even started getting Empire customers, meaning we were beginning our relations with them. More walls, Steak knocked himself up again, and I was attacked by a bunch of rats from my Rats vs. Anomalies video. One time our customers gave a nerve spiker as a tip. Also, for some reason, people kept falling from the sky, but I just ended up turning them into more Happy Meals. We had to move the mechanoid transponder, but it kind of blew up in Steak's face. He was fine. But anyways, terror then struck from the gods, a very specific lightning strike, igniting a fire and cooking the nursery Steak was tending, and unfortunately, Fish Sticks didn't survive, and we mourned his loss, but we knew what he would have wanted from us, and thus we immediately used his corpse to make more burgers. This Muffalo started talking shit, but fortunately Gorlex the Beefalo taught me how to fight and mingle with bovines. So much so that a mad Muffalo went and attacked a Yatakin in one of their raids, and then got kidnapped when it lost to them. Freddy Fazbear decided to join us and helped out by killing this raider. This cat girl fell from the sky too, so she immediately went to the chopping block to be turned into a sandwich. We then began the long, arduous process of constructing the roofs. Orcs started coming in groups because wherever there's one orc, there's like 5,000 more trying to start a fucking vlog. But the roof construction was really just a lot of marble columns. Steak had to fight a few more 2v1s, but they weren't really of consequence. Steak gave birth for the 5th time. I bought a flak jacket and a machine pistol. And the other thing of importance was the Psychic Storm. But more importantly, what spawned from it. An Archon, an elf of sorts, descended and began its attack. It looked powerful, not only on account of the shield, but its big-ass sword. Fortunately, Freddy came to fight her, but he lost. I wanted to heal him, but Steak couldn't get past her shield, so his only other option was to wait for her to bleed out. But unfortunately, as Steak went to go kick her to death, Freddy died seconds later. Some raccoons attacked, but since I finished the walls of the compound, they couldn't really do anything. They did scare away my business for a few days, though. Though the elves I was serving were starting to suspect that my dishes brought out the human in them. Speaking of cannibals, I faced my first vampire raid, where Steak lost his arm, his jaw, his eye, and nearly his life. The man in black spawned, who I immediately vaporized with console commands because this is an ethno state. Steak managed to get back up and hit her with a stone cold, but the damage was already done to his body. The first of Steak's babies, Cheeselogs, became a child, meaning he can now take care of the other babies on Steak's behalf. The gods tried to incinerate my children again. A xenotype landed on my planet that apparently explodes when it dies. A fungoid ship crashed on my world, but I didn't feel like opening it right now. Also, some zombies spawn at the corner, but I know thanks to the anomaly video that we can kill them using apathy, though my customers didn't get the memo and were all attacked. Too bad they're gonna blame me for it too. Our second child also managed to grow up, Butter, who is now old enough to hold a chain shotgun. Also, we finally finished the roof after only a couple dozen more marble columns.
I need marble columns right away. Lots of them.
Marble columns?
The orc raids were getting more dangerous, but I now have 2 kids with guns backing up Steak. The horse attacked, and we had our first fight with the Aurelians. Now, the cat girls early on aren't dangerous, but Aurelians also have their own custom weapons that are 3 times more dangerous than standard raiders, and we'll show up with them later on. In other words, we have to have the Aurelians dealt with as soon as possible. Steak did the research upgrade thing and learned growth bats, and within no time we had a whole team of child soldiers accompanying Steak on his fights. Then I got a rather strange transmission. Supposedly it was coming from a Burgerkin asking for help from a raider gang, but we all know that Burgerkin are named after food items, and then I read the name and I immediately knew it was a scam. Nice try, Nicole.
No.
Hey, that's where our dough went!
Fuck.
We were using the growth vats around the clock, and the base I made was getting more and more populated. So much so that I began construction on a new restaurant outside, so we could better present it to customers. As the main base was a very steerage looking, to the point where I named it The Factory. Some stupid idiot lizards attacked us, and we made good use of the new meat, as Cheeselogs was now old enough to run the grill, and we even added Neanderthals to our menu not too long after. The fast food gods blessed us with cows. I researched plate armor and got to crafting some helmets and armor for my 90% child military. And things were going well, too. We were starting to get more serious Empire customers. We even bought a book on vegetables so the kids could learn to farm their own food. And then this thing showed up, I don't know what it is. Nothing else of substance happened up until this wanderer wanted to talk to us. I assumed she was from the Anomaly DLC, so naturally we didn't even bother speaking and just opened fire on her.
Open fire.
Unfortunately, she had a few of those sight stealers with her, and Butter couldn't scurry away in time before he was torn to pieces. We made sure he didn't go to waste, though, as it's what he would have wanted. The kids began working the shroom fields with their new book learning, and even took up some other jobs too, though of course their most important job was murder. Another horde of zombies showed up, which we can just completely ignore, but once again my customers didn't get the memo. Fortunately it was the elves, and I don't really care if the elves hate me. I even added a few of them to the menu, and our profits were looking promising. The raids were getting a bit worse as well, but for most attacks we were able to just blow our attackers to pieces with sheer overwhelming firepower. We broke into one of the ancient dangers, and after fighting through some Sigma bugs, we came across 2 animal pulsars and an Archotech arm, which could have been perfect for Steak if we just had someone able to perform the surgery. And I finally began my quest line with the Empire by first accepting a quest for a book that would teach the children how to shoot better, and after shooting through half a dozen more orks, and now we could passively teach our children how to kill people more accurately. I accepted a quest for a tribe wanting to purchase a comical amount of our foreskin because I needed plasteel for my analyzer, so I sent like 4 kids to go do it. The only problem was they couldn't exactly carry all the plasteel back because it was too heavy, so I had to spend another 3 or so minutes trading over half the plasteel back for other stuff I kind of needed. Though they eventually made it back home and we got the multi-analyzer up. But right afterwards, we got our first siege, and even worse, it was the Aurelians. Realizing I'm not yet ready for a siege this early on, I sacrificed one of my animal pulsars, ordering all of my burgerkin to stay inside the safety of the factory. And then we just waited inside for the horses to violently tear all the Aurelians to pieces. Another plus side is we now have their mortar. I accepted a few more Empire quests, even if they didn't give honor, because I wanted to have plenty of skill books for the burgerlings. I managed to develop Mustard into a second adult burgerkin after hours in the vat, and he was already beginning fission to produce more burger children. We tested our mortar by launching it at some big stupid idiot mechanoid hive. The fight went surprisingly well in our favor. I started constructing my favorite weapons, and the Empire gave me the exact same quest from earlier, except this time they finally granted Steak some honor. Just real quick, shoot the orcs again and we're already done. One of the orcs survived the onslaught, so we imprisoned it. Not because I'm violating the ethno-state, but apparently because slaves are a really good way to raise honor. He also made for a good meat shield for when these invaders potted into the factory. We accepted the Empire's demand for another mechanoid hive destruction, and just climbed to the edge and destroyed all the dangerous turrets before they even had a chance to react. Cheeselogs, who I had been training the art of medicine, had performed a prosthetic arm transplant on Steak, but ironically it wasn't the Architect arm, it was another prosthetic that I didn't even know I had. Speaking of Steak, after having a chance to sell the orc to the Empire, he had reached the first title in the Empire, and after dealing with another rat raid, probably sent by Xbox, they did a short ceremony to celebrate Steak's success before another mission of rescuing yet another crashed shuttle. Fortunately, these missions basically pay for themselves, even if a few prisoners lose some of their limbs in the process. Another mission to babysit a Thrumbo, even though it has a life-threatening condition, and these impots attack, but I mean, like, they're impots. Who cares? Several days later, it was time to give the Thrumbo back, and its blood rot was actually pretty close. And before I knew it, Steak was a knight. Selling our prisoners to the Empire was actually moving Steak along the levels so quickly that it was actually able to skip one of his ceremonies and move straight to Praetor. We were advancing so quickly that I even had to rebuild the walls of Steak's chamber with money because he was leveling up so quickly. Another Mammalkin attack occurred, but unless they get into melee range, Mammalkin are usually pretty easy. Also, in order to increase sales, I made a second restaurant with even more stuff so we could take on 3 visitor groups at once. We were becoming so prosperous that we even set up some turrets around us, especially considering how net positive I was on electricity. And since we were prospering, I went ahead and opened the other ancient danger to find some deli ham that was trying to force me to go through the anomaly campaign again. Inside the pods was just a bunch of random hostile people who quickly became part of the menu, though rather perfectly inside one of the loot boxes was a tech print for the transport shuttle, which would come in great handy for us to commit genocide down the line. We did yet another shuttle mission. These gazelles attacked us but just blew themselves up on the turrets, and I noticed that there were 2 tortoises on the map and it gave me an idea, so I quickly tried to tame them. I sold more of my prisoners to the Empire. We were about at the halfway point with honor now. An armory of lethal company employees attacked my settlement. They managed to corner and mutilate one of the slaves, but they didn't get much further than that. Yet another Empire quest, this time a paralyzed Toxilo, literally the easiest. We finished researching transport shuttle, and I started construction on a fabricator to make components for it. But then I realized I lacked the components to make the fabricator. Yep, that's right, I put myself into another go-get-the-power saw situation.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw. Dude, I'm gonna. Oh.
I started frantically searching for components around the map like a horse-till addict. I agreed to build a statue for the Empire because it looked like an Among Us. These insects attacked but fell to turret defense. I carried the free honor into the shuttle, and then our first Empire trader arrived, and I was able to buy 2 charge rifles funded almost entirely by cheeseburgers. More work on the Amogus, and then some cultists came, and cultists are actually pretty fun to bully, as they can take a lot of punishment, but they're also really slow and melee-based half the time, and sometimes they will just randomly resurrect themselves too, so you can basically just camp their corpses.
Now I can never die!
Good. I like my playthings extra durable.
We also opened up the fungoid hatch, as I both wanted the components and I wanted to use the zombie in there for war crimes, because fungoids have a gene that infects other genes with itself, but we accidentally shot her with too many bullets. Oh well, there's always next time. This whole horde of Shivers showed up, so Steak did the moral thing and cashed in one of his favors with the Empire to have some of their troops tank them for us, and almost all of them died. A truly morally just decision on my part. We finally found more components, it still wasn't enough, so I got really mad and scrapped some of my own turrets, but we can make more now with the Fabricator. And another anomaly stranger showed up, so we did the moral thing. Wink wink. We actually already had all the materials to build the ship, barring the components, so now we could actually travel to anywhere on the map we want. Nope, never mind, scratch that, we're getting attacked in the middle of the rain.
Come on! Come on!
Fortunately, they're all impid, so they're useless anyway, plus it stopped raining a few minutes later. I then ran a sort of test with the Aurelians by sending over a squad of child soldiers to see how they would fare against the Catgirls, and although they could decently hold their own with their more powerful weapons, I ultimately surmised that we weren't ready to invade them yet, and instead opted to take my first shuttle ride to a nearby colony so we could get some gold to complete Steak's throne, which I paid for with cheeseburgers, of course.
Figures.
I bought a minigun for one of the adult Burgerkin. We wrapped up construction on the Amogus, and I'm not gonna lie, it was actually pretty close. I really slacked off on this quite a bit. Steak finished his throne, I diversified my war crime arsenal. The turtles I stole had their first babies. Ironically, we were then attacked by the turtle army, meaning the turtle general may have caught wind of my plans and was trying to stop me. And then a whole Militor army showed up too, and I wasn't having any of it, so I just used the Winnie down strat on it, slowly luring them back and then shooting them full of bullets and rinsing and repeating until they were all dead. We got yet another wild animal invasion, though this time it was a Megasloth raid. Yes, we were able to mow them all down with our machine gun fire, but not before they managed to obliterate both little meatballs and cheesecake. With Steak's new throne, we were able to do the Archon ceremony, and the Empire actually did something kind of weird and randomly sent Steak a high mate. Even more so, it was a 16-year-old male high mate that simultaneously looked to be in his mid-30s. I don't know what the Empire was implying here, or if Steak has just been JudgeHoldenMaxxing off camera, but ultimately we decided he would better serve us as a cheeseburger. I stopped stalling and decided to get Steak's Architect arm installed, but Cheeselogs failed the procedure and I couldn't find it afterwards, so I just assumed it wasn't meant to be. And we began preparations to end this. Now, on top of preparing the royal dog of the Empire's room,
Lord Fogg the Toast.
I have two preparations I want to make for the final battle. The first being the research and implementation of greater turrets around my base, along with my army of turtles being used as sort of pseudo-living shields. The second will be the systematic destruction of the two more dangerous factions to my defense of the Imperial. These two groups are the Vampire faction. Although their only ranged weapon is their Bone Spike, that can still instantly kill one of my Burgerkin, they are also able to eviscerate most things if it gets within melee range, meaning they gotta go. The second being the Aurelians. I did a few more tests with the Aurelians, and those with the tech guns they have, I'm not even going to give them a chance to blast my delicious children to pieces. In other words, they gotta go too. I'm also planning on dealing with the Mammalkin tribes while I'm at it. Let's start out with the more simple of the two first, the vampires. Now this one is actually kind of easy, seeing as to how not only we have several colonists with charge rifles, but we also have their main weakness, being fire, in our incendiary launchers. So we just simply lit fires on the outskirts of the vampire base, waited for them to come to us, and we were able to basically fish in a barrel them, to the point to where they surrendered before it even started raining.
That's a clean burning hell, I tell you what.
We stayed back and looted the vampire's stronghold, but they largely had nothing of use, so we returned to base. I bought even more charge rifles from the Empire with cheeseburgers, and we were on to our second target, the Mammalkin tribe. Unfortunately, the Mammalkin still haven't gotten the memo that, although they have strong melee attacks and can explode people's brains with their minds, they will still get beaten out in ranged combat, especially if I have an entire army of turtles body blocking for me in melee combat. All in all, we beat them pretty fast. We even dragged some of their bodies with us back to the shuttle. What, you think I'm gonna let all that flavor go to waste? Finally, we had the Catgirls, and I'm going to be honest, I had no idea how to go through this. I could easily stand losing over half my assault force, considering we replenish our numbers within a matter of days, if it just meant getting rid of the Aurelians for good. The problem is, these damn guns just cut through us too quickly. That was until I realized I was overthinking this. We still had a shard animal pulsar, so I simply sent a crew over to the Aurelian base, activated it, prevented my own forces from getting targeted by hiding in the shuttle, because everybody knows that animals will never attack you if you are inside a vehicle. And we watched the Aurelians be systematically slaughtered by a bunch of wild animals. We stayed behind even after they surrendered to make sure all of them were murdered thoroughly, and when all was done, we just left. Next up was the turrets and my other insignificant final preparations. I sent another trade ship out to go get some more components, and I was able to build 6 big cannon turrets around the compound. We changed the menu order on our restaurant to add lavish meals that only the Imperials were allowed to eat, and we began the Royal Ascent questline, with Jaden arriving with 4 of his own bodyguards. We immediately changed the location parameters and locked Jaden in the royal quarters inside of the factory. The 4 elite guards they sent down were not pushovers by any means either, being adept in several skills as well as combat, which is exactly what I couldn't say for our first in the series of invaders, who didn't get the memo that toxic gas doesn't kill people fast enough to actually be dangerous. Jaden was enjoying his accommodations too, even though he would occasionally have to eat with one of the vomit-inducing burger people. Our second raid was a Jazzaddicts siege, so of course to mitigate this, we started shelling them first, causing all of them to rush us into our turret's range, resulting in a very predictable machine gun slurry. Also, there was this llama helping one of the sides too. No idea whose side they were fighting on, but I'm pretty sure it was just looking for free food.
Well, I don't want all this tube meat to go to waste.
Things were starting to ramp up with a dual raid between both the Impids and a Yatakin drop pod assault. I started by taking pot shots at the Impid swarm while my turrets dealt with the small individual Yatakin in the area. The Impids did break through a pseudo wall I had built, only to once again be met with a wall of bullets shot by literal toddlers, but also be locked down by a horde of flesh-eating tortoises, thus dealing with them properly. Then it was another cultist raid, and this time they didn't even bother doing a ritual, and just rushed forward like some Death Court of Krieg shit, trying to destroy as many of my turrets before I very predictably turned them into yet another pile of delicious dead bodies. And they were shortly joined by another waster raid, who somehow managed to perform even worse than their previous attack. It was somewhat difficult to keep Jaden and his guards fed with lavish meals, ironically, despite us being a fast food restaurant. Fortunately, he was more than entertained by the fact that literal children were dying to defend him. A bunch of orks came then to attack, but these fucking silly orks decided to come when it was raining, so I kind of just had to let them sit there and break my bottom turrets, up until they came inside to where they got vaporized, and the guards could go out and do some space marine shit on the remaining orks. Ironically, orks being orks, they then potted directly into our base, right where we sleep, and proceeded to kill several of my children before I had a chance to waste them all. We still had plenty of children left for the meat grinder of war, but we were slowly getting more and more bracketed. Some more Impids attacked, but they're Impids, and we basically have World War II level weaponry compared to their bows and arrows. The big, goofy, stupid idiot lizards tried to attack us again too, and they ironically had the tools to actually beat us, but they decided to pop all of their bubble shields before they actually got into combat range, resulting in a rather comedically pathetic death from them. Jaden was generally pleased too. And then even more orks attacked, because orks in the Warhammer universe basically function like hydras.
Cut off one head. 2 more shall take its place.
In other news, my turtle population was getting... How did this even happen? Strangely enough, even though we destroyed the base nearest to us, we experienced another mammalkin raid, which was surprising as I thought I had them largely dealt with, at least for now. Though Steak made the executive decision to summon some Imperial meat shields to take the melee brunt of them for us, so all was well. Ironically, they attacked at the same time as some pigskins, causing them to start killing each other as well as me, though the pigskins in the end were largely consumed by the mass of tortoises. The Impids didn't know when to quit and attacked yet again, though this time one of them had metal armor, and they also managed to burn down one of my turrets as well, as my first successful fast food restaurant, so at least they were kind of playing to their advantages now. One of the guards had a mental breakdown and decided to destroy my own shuttle, but it didn't matter because we had survived the 12 days with a high approval rating from Jaden. All the cheeseburgers, all of the fast food restaurants that doubled as hostels, all of the customer service, and all of the comical amount of genocide largely enacted by children. None of it mattered now, as the Burgerkin people were about to join the royal courts of the Empire. From here, they could now destroy it from within using the ridiculously unhealthy child burgers. But Steak, before he left, heard the playing of a fiddle and stood out there for a moment, just to dance outside of the shuttle. He never sleeps, Steak. Except all the times he needed to sleep. He is still dancing, outside, even in the rain, as his minions filled the shuttle with cheeseburgers made from the blood of his enemies. He dances in the night. He says that he will never die. Also, if you see someone obese in the Empire now, it's because of him. But that will do it for this video on the story of Steak and the Burgerkin. If you enjoyed this video, would like to see a continuation of the Burgerkin storyline, or just more Rimworld content in general, please let me know with a comment down below. Check my community polls or join my Discord to stay up to date on what I am doing, vote on what I do next, or even become part of the show. Also, let me know what other types of content you would like to see from me, and who you think would win in a fight, Steak or Xbox.
He never sleeps. He says that he will never...
But with that, this has been Slasher, and I will see you all in the next video.